I'm only reading the short ones. I'm going to do Alma 53. This is what it's about. The Lamanite prisoners are used to fortify the city Bountiful. Dissensions among the Nephites give rise to Lamanite victories. Helaman takes command of 2,000 stripling sons of the people of Ammon. I don't know what stripling means. And it came to pass that they did set guards over the prisoners of the Lamanites, and they did compel them to go forth and bury their dead, and yet also the dead of the Nephites who were slain. And Moroni placed men over them to guard them while they should perform their labors. And Moroni went to the city of Mulek with Lehi, and he took command of the city and gave it unto Lehi. And now, behold, this Lehi was a man who had been with Moroni in the more part of all his battles, and he was a man likened to Moroni, and they rejoiced in each other's safety. Yeah, they were beloved by each other, and also beloved by all the people of Nephi. And it came to pass that after the Lamanites had finished burying their dead, and also the dead of the Nephites, they were marched back into the land of Bountiful and Tinacum by the orders of Moroni, and caused that they should commence laboring and digging a ditch around about the land or the city Bountiful. And he caused that they should build a breastwork of timbers upon the inner bank of the ditch. And they did cast up dirt out of the ditch against the breastwork of the timbers, and thus they did cause the Lamanites to labor, until they had encircled the city Bountiful round about with a strong wall of timbers and earth to an exceedingly great height. And this city became an exceedingly strong hold ever after. And in this city they did guard the prisoners of the Lamanites, even with a wall which they had caused them to build with their own hands. Now Moroni was compelled to cause the Lamanites to labor, because it was easy to guard them while at labor, and he desired all his forces when he should make an attack on the Lamanites. And it came to pass that Moroni had thus gained a victory over one of the greatest armies of the Lamanites, and had obtained a possession of the city of Mulek, which was one of the strongholds of the Lamanites in the land of Nephi. And thus he had also built a stronghold to retain his prisoners. And it came to pass that he did no more attempt to battle with the Lamanites that year, but he did employ his men in preparing for war, making fortifications to guard against the Lamanites, and delivering their women and their children from famine and affliction, and providing for their armies. And now it came to pass that the armies of the Lamanites on the west sea south, while in the absence of Moroni on account of some intrigue amongst the Nephites, which caused dissensions among them, had gained some ground over the Nephites, and insomuch that they had obtained possession of a number of their cities in that part of the land. And thus, because of iniquity amongst themselves, because of dissensions and intrigue amongst themselves, they were placed in the most dangerous circumstances. And now, behold, I have somewhat to say concerning the people of Ammon, who in the beginning were Lamanites, but by Ammon and his brethren, or rather by the power of word and God, they had been converted to the Lord, and had been brought down into the land of Zarahemla, and ever since have been protected by the Nephites. And because of their oath, they had been kept from taking up arms against their brethren. For they had taken an oath that they would never shed no more blood. And according to their oath, they would have perished. They would have suffered themselves to have fallen into the hands of their brethren, had it not been for the pity and exceeding love which Ammon and his brethren had for them. Now for this cause they were brought down into the land of Zarahemla, and they ever had been protected by the Nephites. But it came to pass that when they saw the danger and many afflictions and tribulations which the Nephites bore for them, they were moved with compassion, and were desirous to take up arms in defense of their country. But behold, as they were about to take up their weapons of war, they were overpowered by the persuasion of Helaman and his brethren, for they were about to break the oath which they had made. And Helaman feared lest by so doing he should lose their souls. Therefore, all those who had entered into this covenant were compelled to behold their brethren just wade through their afflictions and their dangerous circumstances at this time. But behold, it came to pass, they had many sons who had not entered into the covenant, that they were not going to take up their weapons to defend themselves against their enemies. Therefore, they did assemble themselves together at this time, and as many as were able to take up arms, they called themselves the Nephites. And they entered into a covenant to fight for liberty of the Nephites. Yeah, to protect the land unto the laying down of their lives, even that they covenanted that they would never give up their liberty, but they would fight in all cases to protect the Nephites and themselves from bondage of bullshit. Now, behold, there were 2,000 of those young men who entered into this covenant and took their weapons of war to defend this country. And now, behold, as they never had hitherto been disadvantaged to the Nephites, they became now, at this period of time, also a great support. For they took their weapons of war, and they would that helaman should be their leader. And they were all young men, and they were exceedingly valiant in courage and also strength and activity. But behold, this was not all. They were men who were true at all times in whatsoever thing they were entrusted. Yeah, they were men of truth and soberness. They had been taught to keep the commandments of God and to walk uprightly before him. And now it came to pass that helaman did march at the head of his 2,000 stripling soldiers to the support of the people in the borders of the land on the south by the west sea, and thus ended the 28th year of the reign of judges over the people of Nephi.